So that's a good tip. But then they start getting into here what they call prepping the cigar box for the neck. So the neck of this instrument is going to end up going all the way through the body. All right, think about an acoustic guitar, electric guitar, kind of bolt on or slides into a slot. This is going to go through the cigar box. That's the style that this kit involves. So that's going to be our first test. So one of the things they talk about as we start getting ready here is covering with some painter's tape, maybe just protect your box a little bit. If you were doing some kind of paint or decorative designs on the box, I would probably, if it was me, wait till I had this cutting and this work done, then maybe do that. But then on page 5, it talks about how we are actually going to make that hole. We're going to find the center of the box, then measure off of that. What's the idea with that? That the box is centered on the neck once we start. Otherwise, you would have a situation like this, which maybe that could be a design point. I have no idea what that would do to sound or look or balance or things like that, right? Most instruments work off of a center line. So that's where we're going to start walking through that, notching out that hole. That might be where you bring in a coping saw or something like that if you have it, and are able to make those notches. So the next couple pictures and video clips are going to be me notching out my box to get that neck to fit. All right, here I am. I have my box. If I'm off camera, that's okay, because I'm hoping you can kind of see this. A little bit tough to get good vantage points when it's a one-man operation with a tripod. But I'm going to measure across here. There are different styles of cigar boxes, so just note that. Right now, I'm working on this part below the lid, but then I will have to tape this off and notch up here as well, because you want this part of your neck laying against here if you can. That's supposed to help with vibration and sound. I guess I could notch it here, and there's a gap there. I don't know how that works. That might be kind of one of those things that could be personal preference. But if I look at this, I'm seeing 6 3/4. Another nice thing about working on paper, I can just write stuff down right on here. All right, so half of 6 is 3, half of 3/4 is 3, double the 4, 3/8. 3 3/8. So come in from one side, mark it, and then I always like to check my math because I've never been a great math student, and come across here, and that looks pretty good. Now I'll come to this side and do the same thing. Since our last time, you'll notice I grabbed some thinner painter's tape. I put it up here on the lid. Also, one of these adjustable combination type squares, small one, I love having one of these handy. If you don't have one, I'm not telling you to go out and buy one, but I think they are really valuable. So I am going to be utilizing this, just so you're aware of what that is. All right, center line. The first thing I did was I took my combination square and I came in here and adjusted it. So from the bottom of the lid to where the bottom of the actual flat part of the lid is. Then came up this way, try and get you a good angle, so that I know where the top of my hole is going to be. If I just cut this all the way up, number one, it's going to be sloppy. Number two, I'm going to be getting into this. I don't want to get into the flat part of the lid. So that tells me where the top of the hole is going to be. Coming down is 3/4 of an inch. That's how thick your neck is. So you would come down from that line 3/4 of an inch. Now the other set of lines you need is on either side of your center line. So when you do the whole thing, that's what it should look like. And I know it might be tough to see. I have my top line, I have my center line, from the top line down 3/4 of an inch. From my center line, half of my neck that way, half of my neck this way. Your neck is 1.5. So 3/4 that way, 3/4 that way. Double check the whole thing, make sure you're good. Measure from the side in, from the side in. That helps let you know that you are centered. So what does that look like? Let's give it a shot here. Another nice reason for using one of these, I can adjust it and slide it so that 3/4 of an inch lines up with my line. I don't have to do any math. From the line up to here might be a certain measurement, say 1/8 of an inch, and then you would add that. I don't need to do that. I can line up 3/4 on that line, and now I know where I'm at. And then I'm just going to bring this across. Now I have my steel rule. Again, don't have to use a steel rule, but I happen to have one, which is nice. 3/4 on my center line. 1.5 this way. Excuse me, 3/4 this way, which is at 1.5. 3/4 this way, which is the end of the ruler. 0. And I can use my square. Make sure your lid is shut. If it's like this, that would be a bad line. And now mark that. Cut out for my hole. Cut out for my hole. If I did all my measuring correctly, the neck should line up this way, meaning it won't be like that. And if I did my line coming down right, the neck should be like that and not like this. So it takes time to make sure you're measured correctly, but it's always worth it, even for something kind of simple like a cigar box guitar. Next step is I'm going to start scoring my lines to then cut them. So I'm going to take my utility knife. This is where a piece of metal or some comes in handy. Watch my fingers. And just start scoring this. Might be tough to see, but scored that line. And now work my way around till my next step of actually cutting it out.